Something?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's so beautiful to be here in the house of Peher. May you have all the blessing in your house. Which me. I didn't prepare to speak, but you just told me that somebody didn't come. So
most important, most influential.
If we can mute here 1 second.
In his book, The Power of Your.
That's interesting. That's 3D therapy. Thank you. Okay.
So today is very, very special day and powerful day. Is Gimmel Tammuz. And they said that in Gimmel Tammuz, about any tzaddik, that day, all the Torah that he learned and all the mitzvah that he did all his life, bring light to the world and bring blessing. So we have so much light today, so much blessing. All the things that the tzaddik did all his life, it's come down to the world today. And I think the vessel, the kli to hold all this stuff, it's really to do like Farbrengen, to get together. Everybody should put tzedakah and get achlata tova, good deeds to do, because each one of us, with small thing, we can make a big difference. So maybe I do lechaim, even with water, it's fine. So everybody, if you have lechaim, you can do lechaim even with water, because they say it's important when we bless each other, that we drink it, that it will be part of our body. And really, I didn't feel so well. Last Shabbat, Baruch Hashem, it's not COVID, so don't worry. But I say I'm coming just special, just for the Farbrengen to be with for Gimmel Tammuz. So lechaim to every single one that with us and not with us. May Hashem bless you with everything you want and need. Whoever need to get married, Hashem should send for a good zivug. Whoever need children, Hashem give her children. Whoever need refuah shelema, Hashem send for them refuah shelema. Chasidi shenachat from all our children. And Geula, this is what the Rebbe promised Mrs. Rubashkin. She have a beautiful necklace, Aleph, Bet, Gimel. The Rebbe told her Aleph is Emunah, Bet is Bitachon, trust in Hashem, and Gimel is Geula. When you have Emunah, when you trust in Hashem, and you have Bitachon, that everything is from Hashem and everything is for the best for us, Hashem should give you Geula, redemption for each one of you. Not just, of course, we want the big redemption for all Klal Am Yisrael, but for every single one of us, whatever you want and need, may Hashem give you. So lechaim, lechaim, Baruch Ata Adonai, Elohim Haolam Shekoneh Baruch. Amen. So one time they asked the Rebbe and the wife of the Rebbe, what is the best moment in your life? And probably everybody will think like maybe it will be like when she got married with the Rebbe, or so many things. She had beautiful moment in her life. And the Rebbe's answer, she said, now, this moment. So it's a beautiful lesson for all of us that sometimes we always think, wow, I want to enjoy tomorrow. I have a wedding tonight. I'm going to enjoy. But the Rebbe said, come to teach us, enjoy the moment. Now we are all together in Zoom, in whatever where you are in the world or here, but really to enjoy the moment and accept everything to our life. Somebody, the Rebbe was living in Kornitz, and the Rebbetzin was very hidden. Nobody knew about her. She went to the store, and if somebody recognized her, she went out. She didn't come back to that store. She didn't daven in 770. She was very like snoot in her own way. So her air conditioner in her house didn't work well. So they didn't want to bring somebody Lubavitch to the house of the Rebbe. So they brought somebody from outside that is not Lubavitch to fix the air conditioner. And he said, oh, you live here in Kornitz, so probably they have a lot of Hasidim here. And she said, yes. And then he looked at her and he said, but you are not Lubavitch, right? She said, why? He said, because you don't have the picture of the Rebbe. The guy that came to fix the air conditioner, he asked the wife of the Rebbe that she is not Lubavitch. And she asked him why. He said, because there is no picture of the Rebbe. So she told him that some people have the Rebbe in their heart. So really, this is beautiful message from the Rebbetzin, like to take the Rebbe and put it in our life, in our heart, to see the good in every single one, to see the potential in every single one, to see the light in every single one, and spread it all over, and to enjoy the moment. We're always running, what I'm going to do tomorrow, what I'm going to do in 5 minutes, what I'm going to do tonight. We always worry what's going to happen. Just stop and enjoy the moment. So there is famous story, there is many stories about the Rebbe that a lady passed by every Sunday, was giving dollars. And an old lady passed by and she said, "Oh, you're not tired." And he told her, when you count diamonds, you don't get tired. It means that you look at every single one of you as a diamond, precious. And you know, if somebody worked for you to count your diamond, so they asked the Rebbe, let somebody else give the dollar. Why you have to stand up? Just imagine that the Rebbe have to work so hard, so many hours, just do that emotion with your hand. Like I think after 10 minutes, I'm getting tired. The Rebbe was hours and hours giving dollars. And he looked at every single one as a diamond. So one time somebody asked the Rebbe, let somebody else do the job. So the Rebbe told him, you know what's the difference? When you own a diamond store, you want to count the diamond. When somebody else do it for you, if you bring a worker and he will count the diamond, so he doesn't want to count anymore. Like he's getting tired. But when it's yours, it's precious. Every single one is a diamond. So you look at every single Jew as a diamond. It's amazing, and you have so much power. They asked Rabbi Zaks from England, they asked him, why Mashiach didn't come yet? We're waiting for him. And he said, because there is no united, there is no achdut. And he said, when we really, I tell you a secret, that Mashiach is waiting for us. I don't know how much we are waiting for Mashiach. They say in Shir HaShirim, Omed achar kotleinu, that the Mashiach is waiting behind the kotel. Matzitz mi ben acharachim, is looking through the brick, is waiting that we will be united, that we will be together, that we help each other, that we don't judge anyone, to accept everyone, to be each one of us have to be malach. If you look something beautiful, they said that the Kohen Gadol, when there is Metzorah, somebody that speak Lashon Hara, they put him out of the city for 7 days. And you know who take care of him? Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol have to leave the Bet HaMikdash, the Kodesh HaKodeshim, and he have to go and take care that person, that Metzorah that is far away, to take care of him. So this is beautiful lesson for us. It's Kohen Gadol in Bet HaMikdash, and each one of you is Kohen Gadol. Sometimes we have to leave our comfortable zone, you know, everybody's busy with our life. Just take 5 minutes and think, how I'm going to influence someone else. How I'm going to help someone else. How I'm going out of my Kodesh Kodeshim, my Bet HaMikdash, and going to help others. And this is the Rebbe, that is Kohen Gadol, that he always give. And he didn't take care even 1 day of vacation to himself. All his life is just giving and giving to others. And something beautiful also, they say, Ele matot bnei Israel. They compare the Jewish people as a mateh, as a stick. Why stick? Because say stick, it's something that you lean on it. When you do hiking, you take stick. When you get hold, you take stick. Why? Because every single one of you is a stick to someone else, to help someone else. I want to share with you a story. It was Rabbi Saul. He lived here in Los Angeles. He was very wealthy, he passed away 2 years ago. Actually, I teach his granddaughter. And he said something beautiful. Every morning you wake up, he said, I want to do today chesed. I want to help someone else today. And they ask him, why? Take like 1 day vacation. Why every morning you have to wake up and think, I want to do chesed, I want to help that person. He did a lot of tzedakah, did a lot of chesed. And he said, I will tell you my story. I was in the Holocaust. I lost all my family. I was waiting in line, and it was 3 Nazis in Marshim. And suddenly in the line, beard, and he told me when he was born 1927. And he said, oh, you was born 1925. And he said, no, I was born 1927. And that guy with the white beard, like he was a malach, Eliyahu Navi probably, and he told him, you was born 1925. So when they're going to ask you then, repeat after me, 1925. So he came, and they asked him when he was born. He said 1925. He said, go to the right side. He said, if I was under 18, I'm going to the left to the gas chamber. If I'm above 18, I'm going to the right I went to the camp and I survived. I saw in my own eyes who was my angel in my life. But I want to make sure to be angel to other people. So every morning when I wake up, I say, Hashem, I want to be angel to that person, to that person, to that person. Because after 120 years, they don't going to ask you how much food you ate, how many people enjoy your food. They are not going to ask you how much clothes you have, how many people. They're not going to ask you how much money you made, how much money before tzedakah. So this is something beautiful. He said, I know was my malach in my life. I want to be malach to other people. So this is really the goal of the Rebbe, that each one of us is malach, each one of us to influence other people, to help other people. And just something small to share with you. It's happened to me many times, but last week, a couple of weeks ago, I invited somebody for Shabbat, and then he called me, he said, Eti, I live in the car. I said, what? You live in the car? He said, yes. He tried to marry with a Goya. He gave her $20,000 for the green card. She took the money, she ran away. Anyway, big story. Amazing guy. So I said, what? You live in the car? Why didn't you tell me? He said, no, I didn't want to. I feel embarrassed even to tell you, but I saw that you opened your house for me and it was so warm and you accept me. So I said, listen, I'm going to find for you a place. So chick, I was davening mincha, and in Shema Kolenu, I said, Hashem, please help me to find for him place. So I find for him place, I collect the money, he's in safe place, Baruch Hashem, in guest house. And he said, Yesh Elokim, there is God in the world. Like I was the malach for him to help him to find the house. I say, Yesh Elokim, you have it feeling? I said, take that feeling tomorrow morning, put that feeling, say Shema Yisrael, I said, thank you, Hashem. And he told me, he came to me this Shabbat on Friday, and he said, Eti, every single day I'm putting the feeling from that day. So I just opened for him small gate, like I find for a place to sleep, but I opened for him really the soul. He told me, Yesh Elokim, there is God in the world. So we can be the malach. We can be like the Rebbe sent us. Each one of you is a malach, is an angel. Each one of you is Kohen Gadol that have to leave Bet HaMikdash. Go out and help someone else. Each one of you is mateh. Ele matot b'nei Israel. You are a stick. Why stick? Because stick is something that I lean on it. You have to make sure that each one of you is going to lean on someone else. I just want to finish with the story. It was a lady that it was in the Holocaust, and a lady, they took her in the line, and she had a baby 3 months old, and she hid it in the pocket of her coat, and she saw the coat. And when the two Nazis in Machshimam, they took her, they said, go to the left to the gas chamber, she have to take the coat, and they took the coat, and they felt that it's very heavy. So they opened the coat, and they saw baby. So one of the Nazis said, kill her. The other one said, no, I don't have children, I'm going to adopt her. So she took her and she adopted her as her own baby. And when she grew up, she became a doctor. And the Nazis, the old lady, she was like around 92, she said, you know what? I feel that I'm going to die and I have to tell you a secret. Go to the attic, there is something there for you, there's a box. She took the box, she came down, she opened the box, it was a beautiful necklace. And she said, you are Jewish. Your mother is Jewish. She died in the Holocaust. I adopt you because I don't have children, but that necklace was around you. I don't know if she was maybe like 28 or 30, like boom, suddenly you hear that you are Jewish, your mother passed in the Holocaust, you don't know anything about your family, about your roots, nothing. So she started to do research in the computer, and she finds Chabad. They say, well, when you have Coca-Cola, you have Chabad all over the world. So she researched and she find where is Chabad in Germany. She went there and she told them the story. I just have the necklace, I don't have anything. So the rabbi, of course, tell her there is one person that can help you. It's the Lubavitcher Rebbe. You have to fly to New York. Every Sunday, you're going to give dollars. And I want you to tell him your story. Maybe he can give you some advice what to do with your life. So she went, and the Rebbe looked at her, and he told her what was her Hebrew name. And he told her, you have to go to Yerushalayim to work as a doctor in Yerushalayim. and Hashem will help you. That's it. And you know the pusher, because it was so many people in the line. And she said, oh, I'm going to live in Germany, my house, my work, to leave everything. But the rabbi explained to her, the shaliach in Germany, like the rabbi is something standing on the mountain and he knows exactly what's going to happen. You just have to listen to him. Don't ask even any question. Just go. So she went. She started walking Hadassah and Karem, Yerushalayim. And Motzei Shabbat, I don't know if you remember, it was, I think, 20 years ago, even more. It was in Subaru Pizza in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Machshimo, he came in and he blew up himself. So they called 911 in Israel. She was the first ambulance that came in to help the people. And she picked up a girl 3 years old and she tried to take her out. And suddenly she realized that she had the same necklace that she had. And she was shaking. And her grandfather, her Saba, was running and he said, wow, she's okay. And she said, 1 second, where you got that necklace? And he thinks that she's cuckoo. Why you care about the necklace when everybody's bleeding and such a balagan here? And she said, where you got that necklace? He said, I make 2 necklaces. One for my daughter, that she lives here in Yerushalayim. This is my granddaughter. And for the other one that I lost in the Holocaust. And she took the necklace out and she said, this is the other necklace. And she found her father. And they reunited in Eretz Israel in Yerushalayim. This is the power of the Rebbe. The Rebbe can easily tell her, your father in Yerushalayim, this is the address, go. But the Rebbe didn't want to show miracle, everything quiet way. Even the way that he was davening, he didn't move. The way that he was sitting, he always sit like that. When I sit like that, it's mean, oh, that's it, I finish, I relax. The Rebbe never relaxed. He always was sitting like that. It means that always have to do and grow and do more. So everything in the nature way. So this is the power of the Rebbe. And I think it's my zchut that I become Lubavitch. It's another story. I was in the army, in the Navy. I become Lubavitch through the Rebbe. And I feel so much connected to the Rebbe and such a zchut. Because when I become religious in the army, my friend also became religious. She went to Mea Shearim. Very close-minded, not in touch with their family, with their friend. And Chabad is the opposite. Go out of yourself. Now, I'm flying to Eretz Israel next week. All my friends that not religious, we all get together in kosher restaurant, they know, and they're waiting just to listen to Dvar Torah, just to something. And it's something beautiful. This is the way of Chabad, to accept everyone, to love everyone, not to judge anyone. Because you see Chabad all over the world, people come with earrings and with necklaces and with tattoo. We don't care about that because we know that the inside, the neshama, we are all together, we are one. So l'chaim to everyone. May Hashem bless every single one of you in that amazing, powerful day, Gimmel Tammuz, with everything that you want and need. And thank you, Miriam Yerushalmi. I didn't supposed to talk, but the last minute, so l'chaim.
Thank you for doing this last minute. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Amen.
we'll take a break. Maybe we'll have some nigunim so everyone can go and get some food. Take a little break and then
So you
we'll
want me to
start.
turn it? And
No,
see the food?
Oh no, you don't have to see. Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming.
And the
That was so beautiful. I can't believe you did that so spontaneous. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh yes, I heard that too. Yes, I heard that too.
Yes.
Oh, and then after we get the food, we will continue the program.
Like I can lecture here and there, like the birthday, like I'm coming to the birthday. Nice to see you. How are you? It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Good to see you, my dear.
So enjoy.
Wow.
As a day. I think that she's really beauty Hashem inside and outside. Keep it going. Did you ask for a job? Oh, I was just going to go around to yes, 2 weeks ago. Okay. I came from this. I know you're here. Your face. Yes, I You're Miriam's daughter? My daughter. Was my mother-in-law's yes. So did I take it? Yes. I see on my. I think your pictures on my contacts. She's been doing it for a year. She just started again. Yeah. Do you get the notices? Yes, she sends. I was yes, yeah, I brought people who wanted to make sure they're online. Is that it? Yeah, this is it. Want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, maybe you want to show her how to write. Oh, yes, right. Especially. So that's it. This is we were. Like both of them so then I said, I was like, but you know, come back and I'm like, okay. So here all right, I'm going to use the rest of them. Maybe start. Miriam, do you want to speak about when? No, she's on you can maybe ask ladies to write you that paper here and give them like 5 minutes or so to do it. You know, just explain to them what it is to write your today.
And then if it's right, we'll pass it and then we can send it to them.
Actually, I want, can you do one more, please?
Yeah, sure. There's a whole bunch of things. So, if you like to do this,
Sure.
I might have finished this one, but this will be 1,000. Unfortunately. Yeah. We changed phone, but lost a lot of. Yeah, my phone, I haven't had a phone in 2 weeks. And I had to get the whole thing like completely wiped down. So far.
So we're all on our mailing list. So you're just. Yes, let's take it negative. Sure.
Around the little one.
I made up a lost time. Okay, you sure did. I don't know. Oh, why did she put you so big here? Oh my gosh.
Judy, was this what's after that? What's after that? After the moment?
I'll tell her right now. Okay, so. What's after that one? I would like to, yeah. So, Vicky Moritz, Rosh Chodesh, amazing neshama. Was privileged to meet her at Pesach retreat Gan Eden, and ever since then, Soul Sisters in doing whatever we can to get women together, as well as my dear friend Yehudis Eichenblatt and Pierre, Shoshana Pierre. We have amazing Soul Sisters here, all of us together. And I want to give her the floor here to share some insights as we.
I am honored to be able to say a couple of words. If I want to sit down and talk about the Rabbi, I could sit down, write books and books. Just make it very, very short. I came from Minneapolis, and we find an apartment very close to Lomita, and I were looking for a kosher food. We called the butcher. He brought the meat to our house, and we said, "Where's the synagogue?" He said, "It depends what kind of a synagogue you're looking: conservative, Reform, Orthodox, or ultra Orthodox." And which anytime I was passing by that, I was reading Chabad, and he said Chabad, and I for the first time I hear conservative, Orthodox, Reform. I said, "What is this?" I had one kind of a religion in my country, and that was, everybody the same. Anyway, we moved to Chabad, and my husband Shabbos. We moved to Lamita. My husband went Shabbos to the shul, and I was home with my baby, and he came back. He was so happy. He found a place. He said that they were very nice to him, and they gave him a meal, and so that was the starting with the Chabad for us, and then my husband, then he said the next day there's a party, and my husband and I we went to that party. Rabbi Manes Friedman's brother was one of the rabbis. He's holding a beer like this, he's taking my baby, hugged my baby, and I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt. I was so embarrassed that I was hiding myself. And anyway, for us, and I went to see the Rabbi a few times. And as I said, it's so much to say, but I'm going to make up to the last. I had two boys. I was going to close my tube because I had 2 C-section, and everybody was telling me it's very dangerous and to have more. And I went to Rabbi Eliach. He said, look, you have to go to Rabbi Katz. Fairfax, he tells you what to do. I went to Rabbi Katz. He said, if you have 2 boys, means your husband is not complete. You have to have a girl. And I said, how do I know I'm going to have a girl? And he said, everything is in the hands of Hashem. Anyway, got pregnant, had a girl. And that's my Rahul that she's right now with in England. And then I had one more boys, and then I had 4 children, and the doctor was really telling me that I'm in a dangerous position with the 4 C-section. I really should not have any children. And but my mother passed away, and every night we had a fight. And I told my husband I have to get pregnant, and I have to have a child so I can put my mother's name there.
Wow.
And the doctor was telling me, it's like your risk is like you jumping from the heights to the water. You have to be 10 minutes away from the hospital because you could have a rupture or whatever. I got pregnant, and from the moment I got pregnant, and no doctor wants to take me, I was writing to the Rabbi. Every week I was asking for bracha everywhere, and I was not hearing any word. The Rabbi would not answer. But anytime I talked to Rabbi Groner or Shalom, he said the Rabbi gave you bracha. The Rabbi gave you bracha. So I am on my 9 months pregnancy, and Tuesday I'm supposed to have a C-section. I went to the doctor, make sure that I have a space until Tuesday that I will have as a C-section. And the doctor said, yes, Baruch Hashem, I have enough space. I came home and I saw the letter from the Rebbe. For the first time after I was writing, every week for 9 months, I was calling again. And the Rebbe says, you are mazel tov, and you should have the baby on time, and everything is going to be okay. And that was. And Tuesday when I had the baby, the Rebbe wrote me another letter.
Wow.
And said, mazel tov, mazel tov. And then Rabbi quoted that, we always ask for the boys to have, going under the chuppah and learning. And the Rabbi says that quoted it part of the Gemara that says for the girls also we say Torah, chuppah, Macedonia. And so the letter was in Yiddish, and I would not understand. And so I have a son that time was 11 years old, and I showed the letter to my son, and my son went right away. He brought the Gemara, and he showed me. The Rabbi just didn't want just give me a bracha and let me know that the girls also they have to learn the Torah, because then this way they're going to send their husband to learn the Torah and to do that. Just to also tell me that my 11-year boy that was learning to give me a nachat that this is the quote from the Gemara. I just want to say the Rabbi has a big role in my life of my children and my grandchildren, and Baruch Hashem for what we have.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Vicky, you want to tell anything about what you went through recently?
Well,
What happened to the mess just now?
do I have that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so also I want to say that I was religious, not the way Chabad was or anything, because Shabbos was the first day of the work for us. Or we couldn't be Shomer Shabbat because we had to go to work. But shul was always very important to us to go. So even during the COVID, I never, as long as the shul was open, I was going to the shul. About February of 6th this year, I was walking and there was a mechitza that there was no curtain, it just was a piece of metal. And I was running to do something and my feet went to the mechitza, fell down and somebody came to pick me up, and I said, don't, because I have a broken. And so make this story short, my son is in Atzal. So people, they send there for the Atzal, but they really call my son and they say, it's in Mortgage, where are you? And then he hints that that's somebody from his family is I went to the hospital, supposed to do it, so I broke my femur.
Oh, that's terrible. My
and,
son had it when he was 4. I had to carry him.
What?
My son, when he was 4, he broke his
Oh,
femur. I
really?
had to carry him around for
Right.
6 weeks
So
with the body cast.
supposed to have supposed to have surgery the next day at 1:00. By mercy of Hashem, his doctor, oh my gosh, he was like a malach. He came and he did the surgery for me, but the miracle didn't start here. Next day he came to me and says, I have a good news, I have a bad news. And that time that I cannot move, my legs was, without exaggeration, like this, because the blood and the veins and everything was mixed up together for my. And he said, I want to go to X-ray. And I was fighting with him. He went to my son that is in Cedar Sinai, he went to my husband, then my husband and my son went to my other son. They convinced me, he said, after they saw the X-ray, they found out that I had fracture in the other leg also. And he said, it's better to do it right now before you break the other one, because right now all of your weight is gonna be sitting in the other one. And if it is not, then you're gonna break the other one. Saturday night I went one surgery, and Wednesday I went to another surgery, and they put a rod for me from the top of my hips all the way back to the top of my knees, and the reason is that my kids, they were writing to the Rabbi, they are asking for a bracha. No bracha would be better that the doctor said, look, instead of you be twice in the hospital, you're going to be once in the hospital. Yes, up twice to go to the rehab. We go only once on rehab. And so I'm telling you that Baruch Hashem, my 5 children, they are all complete, they all in Lubavitch, and something comes out, they know where to write, what to do. And I'm so thankful to the Rebbe for everything in my life that's happened for me. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Could you share a story that happened to me?
Thank you, Missy. I think Miriam.
Yes,
So, you ready?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm any minute ready. We have
I
something.
found something
Yes,
outside.
I know.
Did somebody lost
Did anybody lose
car keys
anything?
maybe?
איזה
First,
שחור? שחור?
שלה?
איזה, זה שלוחצים?
No, it's
ארנק.
לא,
ארנק.
הארנק שלו.
No, nobody lost
maybe
ארנק?
you want to show it?
שורט, אף אחד לא יקנה. תראי אם יש אייפון.
It's yours?
עשית שבת
It
הביתה.
was outside. Thank you. בזכות זה.
I have the.
בזכות זה.
Yes.
Oh my God. The good exposure.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
So happy I
Yeah,
bring
turn
it.
also this one. Usually turn that.
Yes, towards me. It's 11:23.
Okay.
So do you want to just explain to them about writing the plan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Write the name, your name and the name of your mom.
Go ahead.
Me? I have, I think, in one.
Okay, you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone there's a paper, you can write your name and your mother's name, and we're gonna,
Maybe turn that they can see you.
they're gonna report this to the Rebbe as a doch, that we all are here together for bringing and to be able to get all the blessings. There's so many blessings today, especially when we do what the Rebbe wants us to do, is to be together like this.
Excuse me, what are your names?
Oh, sorry.
No, but then you.
My name's Miriam Yerushalmi. Miriam Yerushalmi. And this is Yehudis Eichenblatt. She is the head of the Bais Chana of LA, California. Yeah.
Пусть она тебя разобьет голову и задушит.
Yeah, we can put it on mute. Thank you.
So mine automatically, I said it's automatically mutes, but if somebody unmutes themselves, I can mute them. Who wants your?
1 second, we'll be starting in a minute.
Who's the host of this?
Yeah, keep it.
У меня я не могу.
Chana.
Одень перчатки, я не могу там быть. Я сейчас вызову полис.
All right.
Пусть ей свяжут руки.
If everyone can put yourselves on mute, not here, here before we start.
You're not the host? Because if you are, you can. Oh, they muted themselves.
Okay, good.
So you're doing good.
Okay, you'll show me after.
Yeah, it's just that
Yeah,
precedent it means so.
I've done that before.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
People to write.
yes. And pass the paper around and write your names.
This explains one thing.
First of all, I would like to thank Shoshana Pierre, like the miracle that happened. My husband a few days ago says, "Oh, you know, the Pidyon event is on Wednesday." I'm like, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, I'm a new grandma," and we didn't really perfectly calculate the exact timing. And I'd already said yes to Bais Chana and Yehudis to be able to do a Farbrengen at my home for this special holy day. And Friday, normally it's really hard to catch me, especially on Fridays, but Shoshana Pierre called me and said, "Would you like to speak in my home on Sunday?" And I'm like, "Well, we're already doing something on Sunday in my home. Like, why don't we merge, just everyone come to my home?" She says, "Oh no, I want to have this person. I want to be able to do it. I bought so much, I prepared so much." And I'm like, actually, that's a really good idea, because I'm doing something tomorrow, Monday night, and then I'm doing my Pidyon Ben Wednesday and on Thursday for another event. So I'm like, when I was debating to even do one more thing that week, I remember opening the letter to the Rebbe. I'm like, I don't know how I can do this all, but like, I guess I should do it. I know you'd want me to do this. Help! And then the Rebbe said, don't worry, just say yes and miracles will happen. I felt like this was the miracle that Rebbe was saying. Say yes and someone will help you. So I really feel blessed this day.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, Miriam, because every time I ask Miriam to speak, there's never been a no. I don't think, unless she was out of town or in Israel or whatever, but she's always been there 100%. There's never, no blocks to be able to share what she has to share. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The topic of today, which
Yes.
I want to explain, but before we get onto the topic, there are papers, just blank papers. If you need help writing to the Rebbe, it's a very auspicious day to write to the Rebbe today. Eti can help you with writing it if you have any questions. But it's you write your name and your mother's name in Hebrew. If you can, Eti can help you, right? It's okay, I'm volunteering her just now. And it's because today is a day that we can connect to the Rebbe and a very, very, as the Rebbe's soul is ascending, we can ascend. So when we write to the Rebbe, we're getting also an elevation to our soul.
Yes.
Eti's can answer all your questions.
Also, thank you, Vicky, for sharing very much. Oh my gosh, I now know you even a little more than I did before. Beautiful story. I have to forgive myself, and hopefully you'll understand. I feel like I'm going through the hormones of new grandmahood. So especially on such a holy day, I cannot tell you how the Rebbe life from the moment we actually became Chabad. And I pretty much was battling a certain type of illness and was rushed to the hospital. My husband went with Rabbi Gazinski to the Ohel, and they opened the Igris, and the Igris said that if your wife will study Chita, she will have a refuah shlema.
Wow.
And
Study what?
Chitas, which is Tanya, Chumash, and Tehillim.
Every day.
And I remember at the time, because I had just given birth after almost 8 years of not having a baby. And it was just so overwhelming to do such a thing. And I said, like the Rebbe said, so I have to do it. And Baruch Hashem, with the baby music in the background, nursing my baby, I tried my best, but I wasn't getting any of it. I was so exhausted. He was colic. And I remember in the beginning of the whole journey, it was really like Japanese and Chinese to me. I really couldn't understand much of anything that I was learning. And there was a neighbor of mine, and she actually said, she had become Baal Tshuva, and my husband had been like, are you doing the chitas? And she's been asking, let's learn together. And I'm like, I just want to look at my baby. I don't want to do this. 8 years waiting for this baby almost. But how can I say no to her? And as I was beginning to just work my way through it, because I said, look, I don't speak fluent Hebrew. She'll know I'm, an English speaker. So what if I don't like I know anything? I'll just excuse it because, I don't know the language. But as I was trying to translate the Tanya, all of a sudden, I started to understand things that for a while I'd been trying and not being able to. So on the topic of being able to do the Rebbe's Hora'ah, I mean, there's many Horas, right? There's Mivtzoim, there's Avas Yisrael, there was the Mitzvah campaign of Tefillin, Neshek. What did we not be given to do to bring Mashiach and bringing Chidushim to the world in our own unique way is a mitzvah, for ourselves to be able to go and share the olive that we know. And I promise you, through sharing the little olive that one knows, as Tanya also says, you think you're doing someone else a favor? When you give them tzedakah, you get the merit. And the Alter Rebbe actually says also, that you're gonna merit that's supposed to give tzedakah more than they even need the money. And the same thing when you give tzedakah of knowledge. When you share especially Hasidus, the Pnimiyut of the Torah, not only are you going to help them access their Pnimiyut of their Neshama, but you access your Pnimiyut of your Neshama, the inner essence of your soul that we're all longing and yearning to be able to redeem and be free. So on this day, to be able to speak about that, because in many of the sichos that I've written, even one on Pirkei Avot, where the Rebbe says there's such an interesting sentence in Pirkei Avot, like, Oy lahem, that there's a voice up in Shemayim saying from Mount Horeb, like they're not Isaac B'Torah. And so the Rebbe asks, it's a very strange sentence in many ways. First of all, what is this voice? Who's hearing it? I mean, if the tzaddikim are hearing him, they're Isaac B'Torah. I mean, like, so who's hearing it? Okay, so we know our neshama is hearing it from like the higher worlds. And if you look at the sentence, it says Chorev. What voice from Chorev? I mean, we know the mountain of Har Sinai is where we got the Torah. So why wouldn't you say Har Sinai? And why just Oilahem, like shame on you, or like why not a harsher terminology? The Rebbe said, because in this sentence we learn a lot about what we need to do in this planet Earth. The word chorev comes from the word leharchiv, to expand, as if to take the light of the Torah and not just learn it. That's why it doesn't say loimed Torah. It says Isaac, Oilahem. Like, what a shame that you have the Torah and you're not taking it like a business. Osek is a business. Would you take your business in the basement and never put any kind of ad anywhere that you have wares that you invested how much money with? You would get the front property of Manhattan if you're in that area. You would do slogans and advertisements. You would do whatever you can and treat it like a business. And that's why in the Pirkei Avot it says, like, it's like this nose ring. Like a pig has, that he has a nose ring that's gold and he doesn't even know it. So the Rebbe is begging us to do whatever we can, to take whatever olive that we know and keep learning and don't stop there. Isaac, keep teaching, keep sharing, keep informing. And by doing that, you access the higher intellectual capacity, kalmoichin de gadlus, which is an expansiveness of your mind. So not only do you expand like the Rebbe says, almost like a sword, right? That from the word laharchiv, to be able to like chop down the darkness of the world with this light of Torah. But by you giving it to others, you're expanding your mental capacity. You're expanding your ability to draw forth the new chadasha of the teachings of the Torah that's unique to you. We study Tanya, and it says we have a certain portion of the world that's ours that we need to elevate. We need to bring that light. And if you study in one of the teachings of the Rebbe Rashab, Kuntres Avoda, it explains how each letter of the power of the Tefillah versus the letter of the power of Torah, how it affects our expansiveness, how it affects our ability to go beyond whatever we were born with. So we know that the letters of Tefillah is likened to bricks. It's man-made. And when we speak words of Tefillah, we're rectifying and fixing and making beautiful and making complete these words and bringing it like in a package to Hashem. And he's making crowns on from these letters. And then there's an or choser, a beaming light back, that when we speak the words of Torah, which is not like man-made bricks, it's called like a stone from the mountains that are not man-made. The words of Torah actually become incredible light to be able to shine within our mind a power of knowledge and wisdom as our Chochmah, our Bina, and our Das is attached to Hashem's Chochmah, Bina, and Das, so that our mind has now more than it ever had before, because we did this process. And it's interesting, this Parsha, Parshas Chukas, where it talks about this red heifer and what's going on in this whole experience of one person trying to make someone pure and then ending up becoming impure. We learn something very deep about this in its process of being able to access the highest power of our being so that we can continuously create, innovate. Because just as God created the world with speech, again, when we speak words of tefillah, when we speak words of Torah, we're tapping into the power of the creation of the world that recreates ourselves and taps into this incredible higher powers for us to be able to do what the Rebbe wants us to do. So the fire, when the fire is burned, that's our longing and our yearning. It's ephemeral. It's not so physical. It's so as the teaching is, Kirish Pe'esh, please God, like that our love and our longing and yearning will like continue to grow and grow like this holy fire. And then the ashes represents the physical deeds, because ashes is physical. So the whole purpose of us to be able to learn and to be able to pray and to be able to ignite all this holy, intense emotion is not for Dayenu that, we feel satisfied, we feel complete, we feel like, we're doing our part in whatever way that we can to bring more holiness into the world in our Dalit Amos of our own lives, but to be able to do what the Rebbe taught us to do. And that is the culmination of every part of every aspect of our life, is for the culmination to be able to bring Mashiach. And that means to bring everyone around us closer and closer to that Geuladik mindset, to that pnimiyut of the neshama that they are yearning and longing to reach. So how many times we can find ourselves, maybe even outside of the spiritual practices that we do, and yet we may not capture the moment to be able to follow the Rebbe's lead. And one of his main missions was to have a positivity bias. Highly recommend that book. I'm sure everyone read it, but each time I reread it over and over again, it reminds me of what the Rebbe wants of me.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Positivity Bias. And it's so many stories of the Rebbe, no matter who and what did whatever, just like Korah, last week's Parsha, where the world will say he's so wicked. And the Rebbe says, no, he had such a godly intent. Yes, it got skewed along the way. He's so holy. He wanted so much to be able to reach that level of Kedusha and that level of performing in the Beit HaMikdash like everybody else. How many stories the Rebbe said when everyone was saying the crying baby. That's all I've been hearing. No, he's such a quiet baby, Baruch Hashem. But everyone is a crying baby, yearning and longing. And the Rebbe actually pointed out a story. I'll never forget this story. When the bat of the Kohen went into the Beit HaMikdash after she gave the key. Can you imagine a Basa Kohen giving the key to the enemy to come in and destroy the Beit HaMikdash? Like, it's just unbelievable. And here she was kicking the Mizbeach. I mean, and everyone who is seeing this, like, it's one thing you're with the traitor, another thing you give the key, and now what chutzpah you're kicking, and it takes the Rebbe to bring chidushim to the Torah. Everyone, I was just in some place I don't know where I was, when I went on my trip to New York, and we were full of non-Chabad women, and we were having this discussion of always seeing the positive, and then this one woman, I said, I'm sure the Rebbe said something positive about Korach. And I looked at her and I said, yes, he did. And everybody was laughing. Like, because they wouldn't even think that this is the Chadushim of the Rebbe. And this is what he wants us to do. He wants to see whatever is in the Torah in a positive light.
By the way, when the Rebbe did find the positive in that person, he actually made a tikkun for the neshama,
yes.
to their soul, he elevated their
Right.
soul.
So in this, exactly with this, the daughter of the Kohen, when he said that about her, well, we didn't finish it yet, but he said something very positive about her. He said she wasn't kicking it in defiance and say, ha, 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 wolf, 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 where is your Mizbeach? Ha, 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 I'm here, the strong one beyond your wildest dreams. I'm going to be the ruler here with my traitor of the people. I love you too.
So much.
Thank you. So the Rebbe said she was besides herself. She was doing tshuva at that moment. She was crying. Where were all the Mizbeach? Why didn't it protect me? I'm a Bas Kohen. What happened here? How could I have done this? How could I have stooped so low? That was the kick. Everybody was seeing the kick and judged it unfavorably. Thought she was going in with the last kick. But no. Today, when what's going on in the world. I mean, I'm telling you as a counselor, people are pro, people are not pro, they're anti in this. I was having a conversation on this phone call. She said, don't call it anti-vax, call it pro-life, or don't call, there's so many people like having their own opinions, and so many people either not inviting people or inviting people and upset with people, and family dynamics is at its all-time interesting challenges because of this alone, besides everything else. So what we're going to try to do today on the Rebbe's holy day, to take upon ourselves to have his chidushim of the Torah ingrained in our brain, but more important, ingrained in our heart. I might have not been able to see the Rebbe face to face, but every day I pray, please open my heart so I can see you, so I can live through you, so that I can be the Bais Chabad that you want me to be. Every day I pray. Every day I pray.
Okay, that's beautiful. Miriam, I see we have some, Dina Forer is on the Zoom here. Hi, Dina.
Hi.
There's a bunch of ladies on the Zoom, a bunch on Facebook. So, this is a Farbrengen, it's not, so I want to be able to give people an opportunity to ask you questions.
Yes, for sure.
Because there is a topic over here, and it is a very, it's a topic where the Rebbe says we have prophecy in our times. We have prophecy, and we have the ability to bring down insights in Torah, each and one of us, that you wouldn't have had in the previous generations. You can't hear me? Let me see.
People put themselves on mute because people.
Am I here? Do you hear me better now? I turned up the volume.
Yay, 1 second.
You do?
I can hear you, but there's a lot of background noise because people are not on mute.
Oh, okay, I'll mute.
They put themselves
Okay,
on.
sweetie.
Here.
So maybe they could text.
Yeah, I muted. Okay, over here, let me mute her. Okay, I muted her too.
Okay.
I muted everybody as far as I know. Yeah. If somebody wants to ask a question, you can unmute yourself, or if you want to add, unmute yourself.
This is really hard.
And-
Tati, try not to.
But please mute yourselves on. Here, I'm gonna mute them.
So how does it always
Mute.
do that?
They
Mute it?
unmute themselves.
Oh, they unmute it? Okay, yeah.
I'm flying to go to the island.
There it is.
Yes, please, we can give it to you to
Yes.
go to the Ohel, yes. Oh, so I have to include my name too, so when you're finished. She's gonna go to the Ohel and she's gonna deliver this
This
pie.
letter. So whoever writes today to the Rebbe, she's gonna take it to the Rebbe's.
Yeah, to
yes,
New York.
To New York tomorrow. And it's an auspicious day to write today, so.
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you. We have volunteers taking our letters to the Rebbe.
Yay.
If anybody
maybe
wants
you-
to drop this to the Rebbe now before she goes, while we're having this event, you can come here and Shoshana Perez's house and drop off your letter. I'm just talking to the ladies on the on Zoom. Okay. So we're going to focus on, and Miriam was a great of, is how do we bring our own understanding and our insights in Torah into our awareness, our consciousness, to understand it even, because it's coming from a higher place. When Hashem puts an idea in our mind, we don't necessarily catch it, that it's an insight even. To be conscious of it, to think about it, and to think about it in such a way that we can actually bring it out to the next person, out to the public. Now, the Rebbe did ask that we do share our insights, that we be aware of our insights, we tune into it, we think about it, we learn it better because we think about how we're going to share it, because when you're thinking of sharing something, then you think about it more and how you're going to explain it, right? Yes. So the Rebbe wants us to go through that whole process of innovating, thinking about it, feeling it, figuring how to express it, and actually publishing it, whether it's by video or in writing. The Rebbe spoke about writing our own insights. So this is something that Miriam Yerushalmi does all the time. So she's a good example of somebody who has ideas, and then she makes a children's book, and she has an idea and she makes an adult, reaching new heights book, and she'll take an idea and she'll do another Zoom or another Facebook. So she has ideas that she actually brings it down to this all levels, from the idea form of her beyond consciousness into consciousness and into feeling and into action and in speech. And it's
Can I ask a question?
Yes, so Dina's asking a question. Yes.
So, I mean, this might be a premature question, and you might be, my question is like, you heard us saying that you wrote a book, right? Or you take all these insights and you translate them and you manifest them. There has to be like a kind of step-by-step process. Like, what would you say would be the first step to create those insights that are in your mind?
Right.
Saying
So thank you for that question. And we all have been gifted with the faculty of imagination. And the more we use our faculty of imagination, I'll explain in more detail, in prayer. And that's why one of my books is Prayer Meditation, because we're accessing our imaginative faculty's power to go beyond ourselves. Because we're attaching ourselves to God's wisdom, God's holy letters, God's holy Chochmah, Bina, and Das. Most people don't think that the time of prayer is called Moichin de Gadlus, again, which is the time to expand the borders of your soul mental capacity. So that's step number one. Step number one is to harness it, because if we're not harnessing it in prayer, then the faculty of imagination then ends up being used by the Yetzer Hara and running wild, creating all kinds of machinations in our mind, fearing the unknown, fearing like what ifs and how come, and even ruminating on what was. So that's the first step, is realizing that prayer is the time for the faculty of imagination to be ignited. Now, once you do that, it's not you anymore. It's Hashem channeling his wisdom, his light, his innovations, his ideas. It's not my ideas. It flows to you, just like you've heard painters that all of a sudden they paint something. It wasn't them. It was like an inspiration from above that comes flowing through you. Two is speaking the words of Torah, because speaking of the words of Torah also not only activates power through these letters of God's into the world, but also you're activating your faculty of imagination, because you can't understand Torah. It's not so easy, purposely designed. So you have to kind of break your teeth through it to understand it. So if you're just reading in your head without speaking it, you won't access this mental capacity. If you just read it out loud without really deeply meditating and contemplating on what you're reading, you're also shortchanging yourself a bit. So these are the two main steps to actualize your faculty of your imagination.
What is it? Prayer and what else?
Prayer, speaking it, and of course meditating, because when you meditate, you use your faculty of imagination. When you speak it, you're.
But when do you say the inspiration happens? So, for example, if you're davening and you're davening, right? You're supposed to be actually focusing on those words. You're supposed to be focusing on that connection with Hashem. But you're saying, and then the next step is, if you want to try, make it a practical, then you wrote a book, right? So where did that inspiration come? How did that come from prayer?
Right. So first of all, when I was a very young age, I was very torn to see like how the world was. Like I was very perceptive in the misery and the suffering, and I guess you call me an empath, because I would just be like, see something and like, how could he do that? Not gonna.
But you don't have to be an empath.
Right. No, but
yeah.
I just
everybody has.
No, we all are empaths.
Everybody has their own unique
yeah
way of connecting to Hashem.
Right.
So
I just wanted.
Yeah. So I wanted to.
Sorry,
So I wanted to say that I always wanted to like help fix the world, and trust me, I'm not a perfect like writer. I barely learned Hebrew and I barely learned English as a child. So this is not either one of my fortes. It was very difficult for me to speak in public, besides the anxiety and the almost like heart attack while I was saying any one sentence. So, but by continuously sharing, by continuously giving, Hashem gives you more than you can imagine, and the light bulb turns on. But it first starts with prayer and learning. Then the overflow to give it to the other ends up bringing you an even greater overflow. So the books happened kind of on their own. I don't want to take credit because I was just writing notes for classes I was teaching.
I was just bringing that as a random.
Yeah. So I wrote notes, and one day as I was scrolling down my notes, I just happened to see that this is 200 pages of words of notes on this topic and 200 pages and 300 on that topic, because I'd been teaching almost like 15 years at the time. So I had but again, these like innovative ideas came from when I taught it to others. And the more I delved into like the higher power of my soul through prayer, the more I was able to share it with others, in a deeper way. But I want to share that the Rambam and some of the most challenged children reach such great heights. Rabbi Akiva, age 40, like, where did that all come from? Like, how, and I can say for myself, I only really started studying Hasidus when I was like, I don't know, 34, 36, whatever, like later in life, not like I was spoon-fed as a young child. So, and again, the whole message, even of the menorah of Hanukkah, you use the little oil you have, and God will continue to pour more oil into you, meaning because oil in Hasidus is chokhmah. So you use your wisdom in whatever little way and give it over, and again study, and again pray, and again meditate, and then all of a sudden the mind just takes you on a cruise control to an area you're like, whoa, how did that happen? And come to me.
Yes. So I want to give also a little bit of the background from the Rebbe.
Yes.
Okay. So the Rebbe actually asked and begs in a way,
yes,
and instructed that we all tune into Torah on a whole new level than we were until now, until our generation. And until our generation, people were not supposed to just have their own ideas in Torah. They were supposed, only big, huge rabbis who had learned from big, huge rabbis were able to innovate in Torah. And when the Rebbe came out that we are supposed to all innovate, every man and woman, and not only innovate it, but also share it and publish it. And he said, and if you're not sure that your teachings or your innovation or your understanding is really founded in Torah, maybe it's just a wild hypothesis, maybe it's just something, imagination, maybe it's not really real. So that was it. If it's based on the principles of Torah, obviously we're not going to go base it on something that's contrary to Torah, God forbid. If it's all based on, the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam, the ideas of Torah, how we're supposed to analyze Torah in logical way. If it's founded in the foundations of Torah, any insight of how we can apply it to our lives, the Rebbe says, is fine. And if you're not sure though that it's okay, that it's really coincides with the way Torah is supposed to be understood, then you can always say, the Rebbe says, this is not 100%. I'm not 100% sure. This is my own insight. This is how I see it. This is how I understand it. So you can take off the, you're not giving yourself a based in stempel or based in, stamp of approval. You're just saying, this is my understanding of Torah, but the Rebbe says he wants us to share it anyway. And he said, when a person actually tries to figure out how they're going to share their insights, they learn it better, they connect with it better, and then they give it over in a way that other people can benefit. And we all know everybody has their own story, everybody has their own way of understanding, everybody has their own background, everybody has their own, massive input from all their life that they can understand and appreciate Torah in their own unique way. And everybody loves to understand and see how everybody applies it with all their diverse life experience in their life. And we can all glean and learn from each other because we're all connected to Hashem in our own unique way. So that's my little intro. And also when on Shabbos, I was looking in this book about the times of Mashiach, and it does, this is based on prophecies of the prophet saying that when Mashiach comes, all the old people and the young Bachurim and the young children, they will be giving over prophecies. Now, prophecies are prophecies. Prophecies were in the times of old were just prophets. So, and that was saying, in this book, it was saying, this is not from that, but that just like the stages of Mashiach coming and developing, it comes in stages. The awareness and the consciousness of Hashem in the world that we will have ultimately revealed 100% when Mashiach comes is happening slowly but surely. And we see that going on right now, how the world is becoming more conscious of God very, very quickly, especially with the internet and with all kinds of world things happening and people connecting in many different ways, and the information is flowing. So this is changing. So as that's changing, also the consciousness of prophecies also. And when Mashiach comes, it's not that everybody will be prophets on the same level. There will be different levels of prophecy, but everybody will be able to tune into their neshama in a very high way and be able to tune into Hashem. That is prophecy.
Like Kriyat Yam Suf.
Everybody saw in Kriyat Yam Suf, right? Everybody saw Hashem in their own way. Even the simple people. And it says even the servants and the maidservants will be prophesying Mashiach. So what is it? Everybody will have their own insights and their own understanding. So when we're learning Torah on with such an awareness that, wow, I understand it this way, and you get all excited by it and animated because Hashem put this thought into your mind. You didn't just think it up by yourself. Right. Hashem puts the thoughts in your mind. Then you can share it and give it over. So that's a good thing.
What I love about the Rebbe always, the whole idea of the Rebbe is that every single person is an individual. Every single person has the ability to inspire, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, and that you can be just inspiring the person that's next to you. And people connect to different people on different levels. Not everybody is going to connect to like the big rabbi. They might just connect to the average person that's on the street. Yeah, and that's how the Rebbe is saying that this is how you are able to continue and connect and create that awareness of the spirituality pool around you. It's very powerful.
Can I add to that, Dina?
Yes, Chavi. This is Chavi Epstein for the ladies who are here who can't see the screen.
Hi, Dina.
Hi, Chavi.
First of all, Miriam and Yehuda, this is an amazing Farbrengen. Whoa, this is really deep and nitty-gritty and so powerful and empowering. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for joining us, Chavi. Thank you.
Of course. And Dina, I love what you were saying about how each of us can affect different people. And my understanding is that the Rebbe says that every single one of us has a Torah Chadasha, a piece of Torah to light the world with, and that we all affect everyone.
Right.
Yes.
So it's really that powerful. And also, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, is that very often our insights that we have, and Miriam, the imagination and all this creativity that we have specifically can come from our challenge and our limiting beliefs that we have transformed.
Yes.
And so it's personal passion, personal pain that turns into personal passion. And that's why other people are so open to hearing about it from us, because we lived through it. We lived through the truth of first seeing it one way when it wasn't true.
Yes.
I just wanted to add that point. Thank
you.
you.
Wow. Chavi, give us a little insight about pleasure.
Okay, you're asking me out of nowhere. Okay, how do we add this in? That's serving Hashem as we're here to do and continue to do, being inspired by these women who are sharing the Rebbe's words with us. One of the things that the Rebbe told us in Memches is that we can overcome our limitations using pleasure, because pleasure is the highest koyach that there is. It's the koyach HaMoshel. There is nothing higher than the experience of pleasure, and it's also something that's outside of us. So when we choose to experience, pleasure in Hashem's world, and I'm talking about gashmistic pleasure, obviously that's kosher, that's all aligned with God's will, and it's authentic, it's coming from inside us, something that we know will nourish us. So when we engage in this pleasure, the Rebbe explains that we're actually overcoming our limitations. And so when we going back to Miriam's discussion about how we can really bring out each of us, our greatness, our creativity, the things that we can contribute in being in the Rebbe's army, I think perhaps that's another piece to add, that sometimes we can access, tefillah and Torah, of course, it's our foundation. And I think what the Rebbe is now encouraging us to do, since that shift of Memches, when the world, a certain amount of avoid has been completed, and now we're Kabbalah's B'nai Mashiach, who's sort of shifted into Zachar mode. Now we can use pleasure also to overcome our limitations, which is mind-blowing to me. That pleasure actually allows us to overcome limitations. And of course, we can go right back into what Miriam was saying about, using our imagination, our koychos to develop and, just magnify whatever it is the Rebbe's been teaching us.
Wow, Chavi, thank you.
Thank you, beautiful.
The pleasure concept comes from also the super conscious experience of our soul. So actually, when I open up the Rebbe's book for what to say today, that was what the Rebbe was talking about, having pleasure in learning Torah. When you have the pleasure of, when you're learning Torah, then you're able to bring it into a much, much more greater revelation through the pleasure. And the pleasure, obviously, we have more pleasure in Torah when we learn it with the Chassidus, which is the inner dimension of Torah. It's not just the body of Torah, it's the soul of Torah. So when you have the soul, the pneumius, the inner connection of Torah through Chassidus, you have much more pleasure. And that enables you also, that will open up your fountain of wealth, of pleasure in Hashem in through the Torah, which will open up your resources of innovation and imagination and the experience of being able to have your own insight, your own connection to what you're learning and experiencing. So that's thank you.
It's interesting because I was thinking there was a Tehillim that I was reading, and in English is, were it not for your Torah, which is my delight, I would have been lost in my affliction. So the delighting is really the key to find yourself and to really have that delight in Torah learning, in davening, in chesed.
And the delight comes through learning the inner dimension of it.
Yes.
Because the pneumius, the chassidus of it, which is the inner soul of Torah, is what gives us more pleasure in learning the Torah. It's not just we're learning this rule or this detail or this logical deduction. We're learning what the inner soul of it, what the inner, how it connects us to God in an inner way. So that brings us to pleasure. It's all connected. So when you have the pleasure comes from the highest realm of the Kesser, of the crown, which is the highest part of our soul, which is not really inside, revealed in our body. It's super rational. And when we connect with that, we're able to bring it through our will, through our faith, into our intellect, into our consciousness, and then into our feelings and into our speech and action. Yes.
Beautiful.
Can I add something to that, Yehudis?
Yes.
Just going back to this sikha where the Rebbe talks about pleasure overcoming our limitations, it was actually in the context of the Tu B'Shvat sikha where the Rebbe was talking about the luxuries of the 5 fruits that Eretz Yisrael is praised for. Because the Rebbe starts by saying, of course, the Nabali is our basic needs, and all the others is not stuff you need, it's extra, it's luxury. So in the context of that, this is my understanding, again, so everybody can, see it the way they want to, but what I've understood from that is that the Rebbe is actually, of course, it's basic level to enjoy our davening and our learning, as you so beautifully described, Yehudis. And in addition, I'm understanding that the physical pleasure that is experienced by us in an appropriate way is completely in harmony with the Torah, with the Tfilos and the Torah, like together, because we know what is Keser, the highest level, it's the unity of it.
Oh, sorry. Maybe can you speak a little louder? Can everyone hear me?
Sure.
I don't think people
Sure.
can hear.
The Keser is the unity of opposites, and the closer we're getting to Mashiach, the clearer it's becoming that the physical world is not a contradiction to the spiritual world. Of course, we all know this in regards to Torah and mitzvahs. You know, we all are familiar with the concept of using mitzvahs and elevating the world that way. But now the Rebbe is enlarging the circle, as it were, and sharing with us that actually just the physical Gashmistic world now has the highest 11 lights. This is from the highest 11 lights of Tohu, that when we experience that again in the appropriate way, we are this pleasure, it's all in harmony and in unity with our Torah learning as well.
Yes,
and
yes.
in fact, when we have pleasure in the Gashmias, it will enhance the Torah learning.
Yes.
And when we have pleasure in the Torah learning, it will enhance, our pleasure in the Gashmias, which also reveals
Right. It
Yes.
says in Yaakov that when a person dresses beautifully and like people take pleasure in the way they appear, it opens their mind to be able to receive the Torah and to learn with more calmness.
Yes.
Or the pleasure of like making a joke or
Sure.
something to arouse like that kind of and pleasure all the way, please God.
Yes.
Wow.
I prepared a good story. I don't know, should I share it now?
Maybe the Nigunim. I think so. They didn't-
Start a Nigunim.
No,
Should-
someone
um,
asked to start a Nigunim,
You
so
want to start a Nigunim?
and then please do share that
Can you?
story.
You want to start the Nigunim? No. Any? Who has a Nigunim want to start? So another way to access is the Nigunim.
Oh,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Yudis, for that, because definitely to access your imagination and It says in the prophecies and all the times, if a prophet wanted to give prophecy, he had to have music.
Yes.
But they would play musical instruments and they would sing, and then they would get their prophecy. So
cool.
in our times too. But the story that I want to share, a good story, because by Hashgacha Pratis, I daven by Rabbi Wolf Miami Soul. I highly recommend on Shabbos, if you're in La Brea side of Los Angeles, come to Rabbi Wolf Shul. He gave over, it's 140 North La Brea. He gave over 11 stories for, I'm not going to give you 11 stories because we don't have time, but 11 stories, special stories. So one of the stories, I know the daughter of the person who had the story with. It was Rachel Duchman's father, JJ was the hero in the story. I mean, the Rebbe was the hero, but he was the instrument, the shaliach, the vehicle. And so I called her up this morning, actually. I said, can you come and tell the story directly? Because I don't remember all the details. I don't want to say it wrong. And she said, well, she and her husband were speaking in Oxnard this Shabbos, so they're on the way home. She can't do it, but she told me the story from me, and she filled in then she told me even another story, which is also amazing. But I want to tell you this just quickly, the story that Rabbi Wolf told us about Rachel Duchman's father, Alav Shalom. He was the head of Camp Emunah, which I went to when I was 12, by the way. That's how I was introduced to Chabad.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I found out about Chabad, basically. It was when I was 12, I went to Camp Emunah.
Wow.
And I remember Rabbi Hecht, JJ Hecht, Rachel Duchman's father, cheering the singing, and it was like a wonderful experience. But that's how, when I was 16, I knew to write to the Rebbe, because I knew about the Rebbe and I opened up the phone book, the yellow pages, and I looked up the 770 phone number, and I called Rebbe Goner and asked for a bracha. So that's how I got connected. Anyway, so this JJ Hecht, he was in charge of a whole organization that would help a lot of people in need in many different ways. And the Satmar Rebbe actually sent a Satmar couple, to get help from Rabbi Hecht, because they had a daughter who was in trouble. A daughter who ran away from the house, 16 years old, and went and lived with a non-Jew. And he was not involved in good things. And they were not in contact with her for quite a while, but she had remained in contact with her sister. And one day she gets a message from her sister the daughter, the sister is still a Satmar and she tells her sister, I'm getting married in a few days. It's non-Jewish person who was like, not her b'sher. So they asked the Satmar Rebbe what to do, and the Satmar Rebbe said, I don't know, go to the Lubavitch Rebbe. So, and go to JJ Hecht, who's the chassid of the Lubavitch Rebbe, he'll help you. So Rabbi Hecht took them quickly, emergency, to the Rebbe to get a bracha. And the Rebbe had yichidus with them, which was as an emergency thing. And after they had the yichidus, they came up with a plan of what to do. And the plan was basically, because it was such an emergency situation and there was no way to stop the wedding within the next few days so quickly, they brought up charges that when she had left the house, she had taken some stuff. So at this point, they reported it to the police and they tracked her down and arrested her. And so she disappeared. Now, it was over Shabbos that this happened, that they got her right before Shabbos, and the groom was looking for her, didn't know what happened. She just disappeared. And he was calling her sister and she wasn't answering because it was Shabbos. After Shabbos, after she had been in jail, and she couldn't do anything, she was in jail the whole Shabbos because there was no court system to hear her, her plea or anything. So the whole Shabbos she was in jail. He didn't know where she was. And he calls the sister after Shabbos and she says, well, she's in jail. So he said, she's in jail. I don't want to have anything to do with her. And he broke off the wedding. Oh. So then she comes out of jail and she speaks to Rabbi Hecht, and Rabbi Hecht, takes her and takes care of her. And he sent her to Israel and sent her to a school, and she got rehabilitated, and she's, restarted her whole life. So that was he gave 11 stories of people whose lives were saved, through the Rebbe when nobody could even think of a solution. This was one more that was more in the ways of nature. The other stories he gave were really phenomenal, unbelievable, only the Rebbe could have, seen and done what he did. It was truly miraculous. But that was just, I wanted to share because it was such it's like riveting, you know, like when you have an emergency and you need something, that thought of how to save her, which was so out of the box. No rabbi would have thought of such a thing to do to a girl who was 16, to put her in that situation. But that came under duress, and with the bracha of the Rebbe, and with the ability to save her life, really, from being taken by a person who obviously wasn't really for her, and who knows what could have happened to her. So she was helped. And so whenever we're in a tzara, whenever we're in a place of negativity, there's always a way out. You know, sometimes it could be extreme, sometimes it could, but we can always cry out to the Rebbe, we can always ask for bracha, we can always do what we need to do to get a special extra beyond nature power to get out of the situation. It's never lost. So anyway, go ahead.
Hashem, Rabbi Majeski, when I was studying in Machon Chana here and there, he would always say, report to the Rebbe good news, and then you'll have more good news to report to the Rebbe. And ever since then, every night, I report to the Rebbe whatever it is that I did that day, and I show all the good news of what was that day. And even when it wasn't so good, I try to do the positivity bias, even though this happened, but I tried, and it's incredible how every night, sometimes there's an answer to a question that I'm not even reporting to the Rebbe what I have a question about, and he'll answer me. Like unbelievable, like direct answers. Like one time one doctor said I have to have surgery, and I opened the Igris and it said, have a second opinion. And I went to the second opinion and it said no surgery. How many times I've gotten clear directives that changed the course of my life because of the Rebbe. I remember not wanting to leave Israel when I left Israel. My husband has been an activist all of his life for anti-terror and protecting Israel. And there we were, and all of a sudden 9/11 happened and he felt like he wanted to just do that. And I was like, and we had to leave and move maybe to Washington. I'm like, how can I leave Israel? There's no way, no way, no way. And I don't want to show by these issues. On the one hand, I feel like yes way, because I'll sacrifice Israel if it's going to help the Jewish people in a different way. And I had this museum and this children's museum. I was very active in Israel. Like, how can I leave this? And the Rebbe, when I opened the Igros, said, it's the letters of the Rebbe that were put together from many, many, many years of people writing to the Rebbe. And these are the letters he wrote to other people. And you can randomly open it up and get inspiration from the letter that you're opening. So I randomly opened it up, not such thing as random, but in the common terminology, it seems like it's random. And it said, now is your time to do shlichus in America. The first place I want you to go is Miami. And one day in the future, you'll come back and you'll do some shlichus. I got a clear answer to go. So you know how much shalom bias it protected for me, let's say, arguing and how can we do this? How can we leave the community? It doesn't make sense. Look what we built for how many years.
But I don't get where you see the letters.
Oh, it's a book. It's a culmination of 6 volumes in English, and they have many volumes in Hebrew of letters of the Rebbe in English and Yiddish and Hebrew, I think. And you can purchase it, kahos.com, I think, and they mail it to you at your doorstep. Or you can do randomly over the internet. They have where you can just igos.com, I think, where and they flip a page for you, and then they put it at the So guess what happened when I went to New York? The first stop that I was asked to speak was Miami. It was so clear. How many times, even once, sometimes it's not definitely the Rebbe can speak to you in many ways. Sometimes you go to the Ohel and you see a video. Oh my goodness. I remember on my birthday and I was about to be 50 and the Rebbe said, when you think you're about to be 50, you think people are going to say, slow down, you're getting closer to retire. And you don't have to look at your passport to see how you feel. And you should even do more than, each year, because you have less years to do it. You have to pick up the pace. Or another time I went on my birthday and it was about the teachings of Miriam. And it was just about when I was producing my books. And the Rebbe said, and I was coming almost, with my book there, and here the Rebbe was saying, what about your next book? And I was like, wait a minute, I'm coming just for this book. Like, you're already telling me to do that. Give me a break. But it was no break right then and there. So many times, let's say I would go to a shul and I'd have a question and all of a sudden someone is telling a story of the Rebbe. And it's exactly the answer I need to hear for my dilemma. So the Rebbe is with you. The Tanya teaches us that you're connected to a Rebbe, you're connected to a tzaddik. Not only has he paved the way from everything that he did, if you go through a snowstorm and one person and another person passes that street, now like there's Kriyat Yom Suf of that snow, and you can walk so beautifully across. The Rebbe did that for us. And not only that, it says that he'll create a new path just for you when you need it. All we have to do is connect to the Rebbe. All we have to do is learn his Torah Chadasha. All we have to do is learn his sichas and connect to the Rebbe. Look at his picture. Open the Igros. The more we connect to the Rebbe, the more he paves the way anew for us. I remember one story where I was really at a loss. It was so hard for me because I don't even notice I'm not in the middle here. There were so many times where I circumvented like Shalom Bais issues by really getting direction from the Rebbe. And sometimes you can go to a Chabad Shliach and ask them, what would the Rebbe say about this? And you get the answer in such a way that you're not alone in your questioning, in your solving issues that you have to solve. So one of the stories was that when we were living in Israel, my husband was very into guns because, we were at the time Zionistic, the children go maybe the army, the kids have to get used to guns, and he wanted the kids to get used to them guns. And I'm like, no, that's just not my way. I was at gunpoint one time in my life. Another time my sister was at gunpoint. I do not want guns. It was just not a good thing for me personally, and I didn't think it was healthy. I called the shliach and I said, what does the Rebbe think about guns? He said, absolutely at no circumstance, even Purim, the children should not be near guns, toy guns. That was my answer. And I was able to report, this is what the Rebbe thought about guns. So we don't have to battle this world on our own. We have all the directives, all the knowledge of helping us out when we need. So I want to share with you also that, when we're talking about open our hearts, please, so that we can more connect to you, Rebbe. Open our hearts so we can see you with your wisdom, with what you left us, with what we're going to reunite with you. And my husband was actually bringing up a question of why, and you probably have heard this question, why is the heart on the left side and not on our right side? Because we know in Chassidus, everything positive, everything, full of chesed, is full of love, is on the right side. Why is it on the left side? So most of you know probably because when you're gonna give someone your heart, you need the strength to look at their right side. Their heart is on the right. If your heart was on the right, and then you would open your eyes to your heart, you would end up maybe seeing the left of them, whatever's not good in them. So what we're trying to do with the positivity bias, with the way in which we can new revelation that we've been gifted with, and then be able to share it. Because what does the heart do? It pumps, it pumps, it pumps. It needs strength to pump.
Ray wants to say something.
And so that we can give of our chidushim and to be strong in our faith that this is what we're meant to do. That's why we're here. That's the purpose of creation. And even just to pray and learn and do whatever we can so that we can have a open and a happy heart to share Torah, to give, to be kind, and to be loving. So the pulsating blood and the oxygenated blood that is needed, then, because we're oxygenating ourselves. with our right of the other and give of our neshama to them. My
So,
dear
yes,
Ray.
Ray wants to share something. Ray Shagalov. She's
Well, by the way,
Holy
she
Sparks.
just recently did my artwork. Ah,
Oh,
thank
the ladies in
you.
the room
She
can't
did
see
more
it.
than the artwork. She
Yeah.
brought it to life and did so
She made
much
a
beautiful
kindness
work.
and marriage workbook.
Thank you. I
Here,
can't
here.
wait.
Hot off the press. They are
Yes,
very
it's
nice.
on Amazon. This is my newest addition to the Kindness in Marriage book. It's a workbook and it's a coloring book and question and answers and meditations and visualizations. I wonder if I brought it here. Maybe I'm going to check.
Ray, we're gonna have to do an event together with Ray.
Yes, for
Because
sure.
Ray's this everything. That's Ray's topic. That's really Ray's topic.
The last event we
yes.
did together, I was blown away.
That-
It was so, you
Yeah.
were there on that.
I don't know. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ray's whole last, I don't know how many years, 10 years has been dedicated to helping women, at least 10 years, to bring out their talents and their own unique talents into actualization in the physical world. So thank you, Ray. What do you want to share with us?
For like 20 years with women and 30 years with children. It's hard to believe.
Oh, wow. Oh, you're not that old. No.
Incredible work. Thank you. Thank you, Miriam, for pulling together such a beautiful event for today.
Thank you.
And, Miriam, speaking of the heart, I once had an ultrasound done of my heart. And when you look at the image of the ultrasound, it looks exactly like a little stick figure of a person jumping and clapping like a little cheerleader right
Wow.
inside your heart while it's pumping the blood.
Wow.
And, like the message is with
That's all
every
good.
beat of your heart, Hashem is like clapping and cheering that you're doing whatever it is you're doing and struggling, whatever it is you're struggling with. And, you go, girl, right? With every beat of your heart.
Thank you.
Well, that's what we said. You need music, right? In order to have your innovations come through. The wisdom from your higher consciousness, the prophecy, you need music. So that's the clapping.
Yeah. So
The
you also
pulse,
need
the
breath.
pulse. Yeah, you need breath. The
And
breath is
today's-
the singing part.
So today's Hayom Yom says, my revered grandfather, the Rebbe Maharash, once said, even when the sigh of a Jew is occasioned by an unfavorable material circumstance, heaven forbid, this too is a significant act of teshuvah. All the more so, a sigh due to an unfavorable spiritual situation is most certainly a lofty level of teshuvah. It drags one out of the depths of evil and sets him in a good place. So,
Beautiful.
So explain that in your own words, Ray. What's the Rebbe saying?
okay, so what the
Either.
Rebbe is saying is our spiritual service is just this. That's it. That's our spiritual service. When we feel overwhelmed, when we feel like we are alone, in fact, there's even a footnote on it. When he feels that alone he cannot overcome the difficulties he faces, but it is this a person sighs when he feels that alone he cannot overcome the difficulties he faces, but it is this very acknowledgement that he can no longer rely on his own strength, but must turn to God that opens him to truth. So, in my workshops and in my mastermind, everywhere I go, I always like to start with, make it interactive, right? And starting from this place of a sigh, like you've given so much inspiration this morning and a lot of physics that we should find our pleasure and we should integrate it with the Torah and we should bring it out into the world, whatever that is for us. So let's do it right now. Let's take a deep breath in. Call this the 1 minute miracle meditation. I'm just gonna filter it a little bit for what we're talking about today. So it's so simple, just like in today's Hayom Yom, it says just sigh. And when you sigh, connect to Hashem. That's like your whole prayer. In that single breath is your whole prayer to Hashem. And when my husband and I first met, my husband was a smoker. And I had always thought I could never, ever marry a smoker. And it's true, I couldn't have. But I thought, you know what? I'll give it a try. And we went out once and we went out twice. And I said, nope, can't do it. So we went out one more time. And I told him, I'm sorry, I can't marry a smoker. And he looked at me and he handed me a
his pack of cigarettes, and he handed me his lighter, and he said, when I used to be a smoker, I needed these, but I don't need these anymore.
Wow, you have to give shidduchim classes now also. Hello? I'm hearing all these stories with shidduchim. It's like,
Day on, he never touched another cigarette.
wow.
I think he loves you.
Yes,
Ray.
that was pretty good proof.
17 years
That
later.
is da 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 da. Oh my gosh. Can I use that story? Wow.
But that's not the whole story, because as anybody who's ever smoked, you know, it's not so easy to give up.
Right.
There's an addiction, right, that you have to get over, and your lungs have to recover. And it was very difficult for him. So he, my husband is like from Crown Heights, 3 generations Lubavitch. He doesn't know anything about New Age anything, right? But just instinctively, he would just take a deep breath. And he would say, I can feel my lungs getting healthier. And, and he would take a deep breath, and I'd say, you know what, when you take that deep breath in, connect to the Rebbe and take that strength and breathe, and then he would breathe out all of the, the junk from his lungs from all those years of smoking.
Wow.
So I always like to start with this breath, and I want to ask everyone here, because I'm all about action. My mastermind is all about, let's take that action, whatever it is, that baby step forward. And the first place to start is with the breath. So, this is a good time. If you're not sure how it is you're going to give it over in your unique way, if you're not sure what your talent or your passion is, or even if you are, or you have many of them and you don't know which to do first, this is a really good way to check in. So in the time, the Alter Rebbe tells us that when we breathe, it's not like Hashem breathes, the breath of life into Adam and Chava, and that was it. Every single breath we take is coming directly from Hashem. Yehudi Schneerson, you want to mute yourself?
I'll do it.
Okay. So every breath that we take in is coming directly from Hashem, breathing the breath of life into us. And then I heard from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, not only is Hashem breathing the breath of life into us, but Hashem is breathing our soul into us, from his innermost place to our innermost place. And so we have access to that vibrant new energy, to that deep connection of Hashem, and to the deep connection to the Rebbe in every breath we take, to draw from that strength and to draw a new life and to draw new vision into how we want to proceed next in our teshuvah. So even if you're in a sad place, a sigh, it's very, very powerful. So let's do that right now. And just while you're breathing, we'll just take a few breaths to do this. Really try to connect what is your purpose? What is your mission? How can you share your unique Torah and your unique talents to inspire other people? So take a deep breath in and breathe it in directly from Hashem, trusting you to fulfill your mission in this world. Breathe out any worries, anxieties, distractions, just let them go. When you breathe in that brand new soul coming directly from Hashem's innermost place to your innermost place. And breathe out any sense of limitation. Whatever it is you can imagine, whatever it is you can dream, there's a way that you can do it. This time when you breathe in, connect to Hashem, connect to the Rebbe, draw from that deep place of strength and add it to your strength. And breathe out any sense of unworthiness, just let it go. And one more time, when you breathe in, as Hashem is breathing in that breath of life and breathing in your soul to you brand new, just envision, imagine, what is your mission? What is your purpose? And if you have any insights from that, or if you already know, please share with us. Share in the chat or unmute your mic and share with us. Tell us, how are you going to bring into the world this week your unique way of understanding and loving Torah and mitzvahs?
Wow.
Yes. Yes. So you want to, in answer to what she's asking, to share your unique things. She's asking us to share how we're going to bring our own unique talents. Yeah. Does anybody want to share? Like, or is it, did you want us to share that, or you want us to?
Are you doing it?
How you doing it?
How you wish you could do it?
How you wish you could do it, or how you're planning to do it?
Yeah, all of the above.
I can tell a story that I was blocked with, like sometimes you're so blocked because there's so much, happening at one time. And some lady just called me and said, and I was just like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm doing too much. And this woman's calling me and saying, can you do another book on what? I was like 3 adult books, 4 children's books. Are you kidding? And I'm like, and I'm thinking, well, maybe she'll sponsor, maybe she's an artist. So I just didn't hang up the phone on her so quickly. I said, she's calling, it's Mina Shamayim. And that Shabbos, Rabbi Shimon Jacobson was talking about Rabbi Steinsaltz having gone to the Rebbe and like, I'm doing too much. Should I like back off and do less? And the Rebbe said to Rabbi Steinsaltz, not only do I not want you to stop, I want you to add more. So then I was like, oh my goodness, the Rebbe's telling me I'll do this book. And by 4 hours to Chicago to meet someone, and while someone was driving, an idea came to my mind, and I had the 4 hours to write a book. So then I had all of a sudden 5 children's books and 3 adult books all in one time, because the Rebbe said, I want you to do more, not stop. So even when we think we're doing too much, if something comes your way, jump. The Rebbe made the miracle. I happened to go to Shir. Some artist was there. She was willing to do it basically for very little and in partnership. And another one then sponsored by a miracle. It happened like a dream. I didn't have to do, beep. The Rebbe did it all. So even sometimes you're so busy doing so much, like you jump with me. You're doing so much and you jump with me. I always love you for that. We have more to do.
Yes.
Yeah,
wow. And there's nothing like Farbrengen where you connect with other women and you help each other out with whatever you're unstuck with or get unstuck with. The friends are amazing.
And I'm going to suggest that you do it every week, like not once a year on your birthday or not once in a while.
Right.
And I started a few months ago a Passion Projects Mastermind where women get together and each week, and just grab a few friends who want to just set goals together, be accountable to each other, lift each other up, brainstorm together. It's unbelievably powerful.
With that, by the
There's
way,
no way that you cannot progress when you have that kind of support.
Yes. By the way, Rebbetzin Pierre told me she wants to do this every Sunday. So this is the beginning. She said, Gimmel Tammuz, I want to start. So anyone who wants to sign up to come, please put your name and number, and we will invite you to join us every Sunday according to the wish and will of Rebbetzin Pierre. She is from the Chabad of
Chabad Persian Youth.
Chabad Persian Youth. Who hosted this?
Should we do it? Bais Chana, California. Should we do it as a mastermind, like Ray's suggesting?
Definitely.
Bringing out
I mean, whatever she wants, Rebbetzin, but
but we should always,
but definitely
we can incorporate on
yes,
the
for
ideas,
sure.
But
We'll
this could be the
incorporate a lot.
base. Yeah. This could be the base of bringing out our talent.
Yes.
Bring out our highest part of our essence of our neshama and to reveal, manifest way in the tangible world of the physical world.
I want to leave with a story. Hopefully that will inspire everyone. Because sometimes we feel like we just don't have in it. We can't barely micromanage our kitchen and even add one more thing.
Hire a maid.
But definitely, if you can find one that doesn't. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, Anyone, please share your housekeepers with me, please.
My daughter just can't get the right one.
Yeah, it's been a journey. Okay, but so there's this man. He's like going on this journey to another town, and actually, I'll tell two stories. These are two really powerful stories of like, oh my gosh. Okay, so then maybe I'll choose one. No, I want to just do the more. This is even more. This is Rabbi Jacobson brings this story out, and he was talking about a Holocaust survivor who was in the train in the dead of winter with no anything, pajamas, and all night on this cargo to get to the destination of the death camps. And this old man keeps crying to him, warm me, warm me, warm me. And he's just like so tired. He just wants to go to sleep. He can't. And every time he's like about to go to sleep to like get out of the pain of the cold, the man kept like nudging him, please continue to warm me, massage me, warm me. The whole night he had no rest and suffered terribly the cold all night to try to warm him up. Even as he wanted to escape in a deep sleep to escape the suffering of the cold. In the morning of daybreak, he saw that the only two people that were alive was the man he warmed and himself. And Rabbi Jacobson in this CD, I think it was called Captain, My Captain, a whole amazing lecture series of the Rebbe, said that you see a story here, you think you're helping somebody else, but in the end, like you really do have the strength. In the end, it strengthens you. It keeps you inspired. It keeps you alive. It keeps you going. So please keep doing what the Rebbe wants us to do. In whatever way you want, whatever chidushim that you can, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, whether it's supporting, there's so many ways. And Techav Umiyad Mamish, we're keeping the Rebbe's smile even a mile longer with our hishkashrus to the Rebbe.
Can I bring something up? Because there may be some women that are there on that side that may also want to get involved in it.
Yes.
I have a few things I'm involved in. One of the things I started was 5 for 45 means add 5 minutes every day or to what you're doing already for the 45 in middle and to concentrate on it.
Wow. Wow.
And then the other thing I'm doing is we have a positivity hour.
Oh, wow.
Where we're trying 24 hours a day. Different people are signed up for different hours. You don't have to do a full hour, but just to make the effort to try and at some point of giving some time in your hour of just talking to Hashem, talking about positivity, thinking only about good things. And if you can't only think about good things, part of it is just like, asking for the strength to think about good things.
So can I add one more thing to you, and now you'll be my partner? I wanted to start a 10 for 10 project where 10 minutes off your phone called Shmirat HaLafon, and then learn from a book. I did a poster. We're going to do a video. We're going to send it around. So it sounds like I need you to help me get it out there more. So another adding to whether everyone, 2 is not enough, another third thing.
Yes, another thing that has helped me also to get out of my stuckness and get into more creativity and sharing is the writing to the Rebbe. So many times I've been feeling like I can't do anymore and I can't progress and I can't give over, and the Rebbe just, no, you have to keep going, and people need you, people want you, and you have what to give. And the Rebbe's never gave up on me, no matter what I was going through. And I've been going through a lot lately, and Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe's pulled me through, and Miriam's been also pushing me all the time. Yes, we have to do another event. Yes, we have to make sure to. So she made it the vessel.
And you made my merger to LA like so smooth. Like I felt like, because it was so hard again. When again my husband had to move, and I'm like, we have 17 years in Crown Heights. I teach in Great Neck, I teach in Borough Park, I teach at 770 on Shabbos, on Sunday children's programs. Like how can I move? Again, the Rebbe said,
Yeah.
Mazel tov on your new home, and then
So
and it was
Miriam-
LA, and like and then I meet you, and like
we needed
okay,
you
it's
here.
just
We
like
needed Miriam here, and she made sure that every big yantiv, we had a Farbrengen,
yes,
no
Baruch
matter what.
Hashem.
So Bais Chana is our next Farbrengen.
Yes, and please get
I
your
asked,
information from everyone to be on your
Yeah.
mailing list so they find
Yes,
out our
please,
events.
right, put your name if you're not on the Bais Chana,
And
and
if anybody
the
wants to
date.
send their email, I can send them the link
Yes.
to those two sites
Oh,
for.
wonderful.
Okay, so if you want one more quick story, an incredible story that Rachel Duchman just told me this morning from her father. Okay, and it brought me tears to my eyes, so I'll tell you quickly because it's already late, but I have to share this. It's half the press from Rachel Duchman. So when her father, J.J. Hecht, who I told you about before, passed away, very shortly afterwards, her mother gets a call, his wife, and it's a man from Israel. She doesn't remember his name. She said, let's call him Avi. He calls his mother and her mother, and he says, Rachel Duchman's mother, who's the widow now of J.J. Hecht, I want you to come. I want to honor your husband. I want you to come. I'm doing a party at my house, and I want you to come. I want to honor you and give you a gift in honor of your husband. And she was like, okay, she didn't know who he was, but she got one of her sons to take her, and they went there. It was, I think, a Motzei Shabbos, and he told his story. What was his story? He was in the Israeli army, one of the Lebanon wars. He was injured. He lost an eye, and he came to America with a group of Israelis searching for gold, searching for wealth. And guess what? He got here and there was no gold, no wealth to be found immediately. And and his friends were going to keep traveling on to the middle of the country. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to stay in New York and get his green card. And he wanted to fight, just get a regular job, just get a green card, get a job. So all his friends left and he was left alone and he couldn't get a green card. He ended up in Central Park homeless. And when he was in Central Park homeless, a priest came over one day and offered him some help and support. And he said, what do you need? And he gave him $20 bill. He said, I don't want $20. I want a green card. And the guy, this priest says to him, listen, my church is right across the street. If you want, you can come. I'll try to help you. So he comes with him to the church. And in the church, the priest is actually opening up a phone book. This is the olden days. This is the 80s, looking for a Jewish organization that might help him get a green card. And every Jewish organization that he called, they said, no, sorry, he has to go back to Israel. They'll help him there. He's not here in America. We're not set up for that. So the priest finally calls Rabbi J.J. Hecht's organization, which is under Chabad. And he says, I have a young man here, Israeli. He's looking, this is priest brother so-and-so. And he needs help. He needs a green card. Can you help him? And so Rabbi Hecht says, can you give me the phone? Can I speak to him? He says, yeah, he puts him on the phone. And Rabbi Hecht says, don't leave where you are. I'm coming right now to help you and take you. And wow. Rabbi Hecht usually had a driver. He got himself in the car. He immediately zoomed over to Central Park to this church. Wow. And he said, Avi, what are you doing here? And Avi says, I need a green card. He said, okay, get in my car. You need a soul. And he threw him in his car. And he took him back to his office and he brought him to his house. And he said, Avi, this is my son, you see, I'm going to take care of you like I take care of my son. He got him an apartment. He got him a green card. He got him everything he did, rehabilitated him. And so said, so this event that was that he was party, he said, this is a party and celebration that I got my green card. And that's why he invited his wife.
And his soul, I'm sure.
And his soul, yes.
Rabbi, thank you for everything. Yes. Rabbi,
thank you, ladies, for coming.
I want to see you.
Yes.
Open my heart so we can see until that day. We'll all be united. Oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Shoshana, for amazing.
And what's your name? I didn't get your name. Malcolm.
I do. I moved from New York.
Welcome.
About 2.5 years ago.
Thank you for joining.
Not from New York.
So did you put it? Malcolm,
oh wait, that's Refuah Shleimas and Zibugim. 1 second, it's an auspicious time. One second, I'm gonna.
We all pray for each other. And anybody who wrote a letter to the Rebbe, please give it to
Refuah Shleima for Chaim, Rafael, Gabriel, Ben Elka, Lili Liba, Masa Bas Shana, Yisrael Nun ben Sarah, Dina Raziel ben Shana, Basia Sisya Bazel de Sarah, and
Malka, did you write your name here for David? Okay.
David Eliezer ben Leah, for Shema, Chanalea Bas Miriam for Zivug, and all the Zivugim, and many like refuahs for all of the victims of Maron, and B'ezrat Hashem, we should just see pro-life in everything. Pinto.
Can I ask if you can please for me Ronit Basbracha? Tomorrow morning I'm going in for open heart surgery.
Oh my goodness!
Okay. I'm putting in your name right now. She's for the lady who's going to the Ohel.
We're gonna give the duck to the Rebbe at the Ohel, literally.
Yeah, she's going tomorrow. Yes.
Before Shlema.
Yes. Let us know how you're doing.
Please contact me 646-243-0842. Please let me know of the good news.
Yes, let us know.
And we can Farbrengen after the good news.
Yes.
Let me write. I won't be able to write away. It's going to be a long.
Even if you just text me, and then we'll keep praying for you, and we'll keep davening for you, and we'll keep celebrating for your refuah.
It's a 7-hour surgery.
Wow. Everyone say Amen. She has a 5-7 hour open heart surgery tomorrow.
What's your full name again?
Could you bring her, Jenny?
Okay.
So I didn't write your number. You could just text it to me.
Thanks, Jenny.
Wait, who should we text to? Give me your number to text. 1 second.
818 277 0062. Wow. Refuah Shlema. And the merit of joining in the Rebbe's Farbrengen, absolute recovery. There's no doubt. Absolute recovery. And you're going to come here. We're going to dance next Sunday, or as soon as you can, in Zoom. Okay.
Do you know what time you're going in tomorrow?
I have to be in there at 5 in the morning, but they, it's a long time till they start everything.
Probably around 8 a.m. You think?
She's in LA.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Today is also my wedding anniversary.
What? How many?
31 years.
31. You don't forget. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you guys
you.
are amazing.
Next time we want you here live, telling your story.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Be well.
You too. Wish you good news. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna close the Zoom. Goodbye, everybody. Anybody, before I close it, anybody want to say something else? Miriam, you want to say something? You can unmute yourself.
I love the Rebbe. I love the Rebbe. The Rebbe saved my mouth.
Miriam unmuted herself.
Mazel tov on this beautiful event. Thank you so much.
Yes. Wow, you made it.
I've been watching on Zoom. I couldn't make it in person.
Baruch Hashem, but you made it here.
You missed the good food.
And you two ladies are two of my favorite ladies in the whole world.
Oh, and yours are.
I love you so much.
You're one of our favorites. Did you go to Miriam Norton's wedding? Did you go yet? Or is it?
It's I'm going.
You're going.
I'm willing.
Wow. Oh, it's tonight.
June 24th.
June 24th. Give her big hugs from us, please.
I will.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Wow, you made it to the end.
That's right.
Miracle.
Thank you, Miriam.
Bye-bye, everyone.